The GAA Hour with Colin Parkinson is brought to you by Paddy Power, home of the Money Back Special.
And when I started running, I suppose I didn't stop, and when I got the chance to go, I said I should go, and so it opened up.
We're only the small little fish out there, so we are, and we're trying hard to make it through. But it's hard to get the breaks when you're the smaller fish.
Because I love this county so much, you know, and it's just, I'm delighted that the lads did it for the people I'm over today, because like I'm heartbroken.
Welcome to GAA Hour on a Monday with myself and Conán here in the studio as usual. We're going to start quickly with the All-Stars, Conán. It's a little bit old on Friday night, and I'm not as hyped up about this and upset, because basically everyone's picked in positions that they played, which seems absolutely logical to me. Seamus Harnedy, you could say, maybe wouldn't have played all that much out in the wing. But there's a few omissions that would feel very hard done by Daniel Carney. Tom Morrissey, I thought, should have been shortlisted for Player of the Year. He doesn't even get on it. I'd have had him on it ahead of maybe Harnedy or Patrick Horgan in some way. I would have him on it and work around it. But when Peter Duggan, Joe Canning, John Conlon, Graham Mulcahy are all absolute bankers, it's not easy. Like Kyle Hayes would be very unlucky, but he's up against Joe Canning. It's done really well in the hurling in that it's not all been moved around to suit fellas. It's actually almost done the opposite of football, where I'm not sure, the rule that was brought in football where you can get an all-star in a position you weren't nominated, which came in this year, which I think is outrageous. And if that's the case, then Rory Beggan should have been picked in midfield for the All-Star, because he was an outstanding player. Let Cluxton in goals, who was outstanding this year too. There was no outstanding midfielder to go alongside Fenton, like with Colm Kavanagh was poor against Dublin twice and poor against Monaghan the first day. He was only back from injury. I'd have put Beggan midfield if these are the new rules. But the hurling one just goes along, follows the script, and very hard. Even though I think Tom Morrissey should be on it, you say, look, he's up against Seamus Harnedy. I think he's better than Seamus Harnedy, but at least you can match. Kyle Hayes couldn't get it because Joe Canning was better than him centre forward. And you can match lads off. Daniel Carney might feel hard done by, but look who he's up against. It's very hard to argue with it.
Yeah, and that ends the argument when somebody says, what about Kyle Hayes? You say, well, is he better than Joe Canning or not? End of discussion.
There you go. So on that year you were excellent, but you're just unlucky enough that somebody else was better than you that year, and that's unfortunate for you. But the idea that lads now are getting picked, even they're being nominated for a half forward line and getting picked in midfield, being nominated for midfield, getting picked at full back, that's a farcical situation. Just follow the template from the hurling. But
I thought you wouldn't like it today. I was putting together my little team, and then I started moving people around. I was like, I'll put Seamus Harnedy in the corner forward because they're so fluid in there anyway. It'll be fine. Like,
Harnedy moves around. You could play Harnedy. You could pick him in any position in the forwards, because I think he played centre forward, full forward mostly. I don't know if he was on the wing all that often, but you wouldn't really argue with him being picked anywhere, because he is very kind of fluid. But the two players of the year were Brian Howard and Cian Lynch.
Brian Fenton,
sorry, Jesus, Brian Fenton and Cian Lynch. Two very similar players in that two midfielders, two incredibly likeable players, two players that play very positive, two players that don't get involved in silly stuff, two players that don't get involved in cynical play, two positive, forward-thinking players, play with a smile on their face. And I think when it comes down to a vote, to your peers and players who are the very same as supporters and look against and play against these fellas, when it comes down to it, these are going to get the votes, because Kieran Kilkenny would have been Brian Fenton's main challenger, but Kieran Kilkenny gets involved in a lot of cynical stuff, and I don't hold that against Kieran Kilkenny. It happens to him. But maybe it might affect the vote. You play against Kieran Kilkenny and he's grabbing you and holding you from a kick out. You might not like him as much, so maybe that affects it. Brian Howard, or Brian Fenton. I've Brian Howard written down here. I'm just going to change this. So Brian Fenton never gets involved in that kind of stuff, and maybe that's what pipped the vote in his favour. And Cian Lynch as well, Graham Mulcahy, although he wouldn't get involved in anything. But they're just two midfielders who are involved in the play an awful lot, and two incredibly likeable players. And I'm not trying to paint a picture that they don't deserve Player of the Year anyway, but I'm saying if it was close with another player, maybe that's what swung it.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think the fact that it is players who are voting, I look at some of those clips of Brian Fenton throughout the year, and he's always just, if Dublin are going laterally or slows down or coming backwards, Kilkenny might be passing to Brian Fenton, but as soon as it's passed to Brian Fenton, the line is broken and it's an easy score, and players playing against that will just be so demoralised by everything he does. The least score he got in the first half, at least we're doing well. I think there was 2 points in it. Fenton just comes onto his left foot when there's three men around him and puts it over. And players who experience that thing will just be like, he's too good, vote for him.
Yeah, he's left or right. Another quick controversy about the hurling one that you could make is Nicky Quaid. So Nicky Quaid made the save of the whole year. Now Owen Murphy made a series of brilliant saves.
Yeah.
But this is kind of different. Here you go. Graham Brodie in the football made arguably more saves than Owen Murphy in the hurling, right? He wasn't even in the reckoning for the football because it was between Beggan and Cluxton. Now Cluxton and Beggan wouldn't have been anywhere near Brodie as regards shot stopping and excitement, and they were extreme saves.
Yeah.
But usually you get Cluxton and you get Beggan and they're quoting their kick-out stats. Unrivaled kick-out stats, outstanding, whatever. So these lads are because Cluxton really doesn't have much to do outside of his kick-outs being outstanding, and his kick-outs have gone very low risk to the corner back a lot of the time. But it's interesting with the hurling. So it's almost the opposite as well. So I think the same panel picked the hurling and football of All-Star committee, don't they? Is it the same committee? I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. But so basically, right, so the hurling stats on Twitter, or Hurling Talk 1 is his Twitter handle. So he's got some puck out percentages. So Nicky Quaid is at top of the list at 72.65%. So he'd puck outs won 194, puck outs lost 73. In hurling, that's a phenomenal percentage, right? So you have Owen Murphy, who won the All-Star, and he's on 54%. So he's only winning half of his puck outs. So puckouts aren't even a factor then, one. They're a huge factor in whether you win the football one.
Yeah.
And saves are less important. And in hurling then, spectacular saves seem to be really important. And you can break 50-50 on your...
Yeah.
Imagine if Cluxton if you got stats at the end of the year, Cluxton broke 50-50 on his kickouts. Sure, he wouldn't even be in the talk for an All-Star. But in hurling, Owen Murphy has won one based on really poor puck-out numbers, but spectacular saves. Do you get my point? Like Nicky Quaid, when you add in that spectacular save against Cork, that was on Sports Illustrated, and then you add that to his puck out percentage being way higher, being 16% higher than Owen Murphy. Really, there shouldn't have been much of an argument about this. Or is there a different criteria based on what the hurling are looking for?
Yeah, I don't would you hold that against Murphy then, or would you hold it against Brian Cody?
Well, that's the thing. You do I wouldn't hold it against Murphy if he's told to go along, because then that's a lottery. But at the same time, if that's the team's strategy, well then you can't exactly say you're retaining your puckouts. It's not Owen Murphy's fault, but his numbers aren't really good enough. It's actually very, very interesting. Galway, James Skehill only won 52.83% of his puckouts. So he was going along an awful lot as well. So Limerick obviously had a great system, and they were finding fellas on the run, and that takes an awful lot of skill to be consistently able to do that and have those numbers of 194 won and 73 lost. It's outstanding. So while Owen Murphy is a brilliant goalkeeper and made some unbelievable saves against Galway, I would have been going for Nicky Quaid there.
Yeah, it's still a bit different, isn't it? With football, it's so obvious that you have to win the kick out. That's what the keeper is there to do. But it really should
be the same. But you make it in this hurling, and we won't spend too much time on this. It's actually more for hurling, because if you can pick out a fella around the halfway line, the next shot is a score.
Yeah.
So it's even more important, I would suggest, in hurling to be retaining them.
But sorry, I mean, it's on the keeper in football to do that, to find the man. But in hurling, they sort of blame the half forward line, for not winning their ball and not being strong enough, and the half backs dominating them. It's a bit of a different culture there, almost, isn't it?
It depends if you go along. The hurling is changing, and they're going to corner backs an awful lot more. They're going to wing backs just to retain that possession. And Limerick are the market leaders, along with Cork, and Cork's numbers are really good as well. They're third, and Clare were second in the list of retaining puckouts. So
yeah, when I saw Murphy, I was happy enough with him anyway. I'm
just throwing a rabbit in the spanner in the works here, Conán. Anyways, we'll move on from that, because it was from Friday, and I'm sure people have had their fill of All-Stars, because the big match at the weekend here, and I was watching it yesterday, was Ballygunner and Ballea, and it was an unbelievable game of hurling. Ballygunner went 3 up in the first half, then Ballea went 6 up. Then Ballygunner came back and levelled it and went 2 up with 5 minutes to go. Then Ballea came back and levelled it. They got a bit of a fluky goal with Niall Deasy, who tried to catch it from a long ball, and it ricocheted in off his hand.
Did he try to catch it? I thought he was manoeuvring it into the net. Maybe I'm too kind.
Maybe. Would you believe I've never seen a goal if he was trying to manipulate that into the net? I thought he was trying to catch it, but I'm not a hurling. See, this is where we fall down. This is where you're useless to me. Again, trying to ask you a question. Anyways, it was a goal one way or another. So then Ballier went up with 10 seconds left, and then there's a free lobbed into the square, and usually you have one chance at this, and it broke out away. Now the referee could have blown it up when usually you get one chance, it's lobbed in, but the ref played on, and it was won again and out towards the corner and lobbed in again. And Philip O'Mahony with an outstanding kind of overhead tennis smash into the bottom corner, like just fairy tale stuff. So they drew it, and then you had 10 minutes a half of extra time, and it was a draw after that. And then Ballygunner went and won by 3 at the end of the second period of 5 minutes. So it was absolutely outstanding entertainment, on the edge of your seat the whole way through. And like, I mean, Ballygunner now set up a third meeting with Na Piarsaigh, who won at the weekend as well, the third in 4 seasons. I think 2 of them were finals. Last year's final was a classic as well, so that's gone. They kind of own a Piarsaigh one. But it was just it was unbelievable stuff. And I tweeted after the game because emotions are high, and I'm like, Jesus, this, how many times do I bang on about what a great time of the year this is? So this is champions of Clare taking on the champions of Waterford after such an epic game. And I'm on Twitter and I'm trying to find out results of the other games and who's winning where. And I was just thinking, wouldn't a Sunday game style show, and I don't care Sunday games on RTE, I don't care if it's on Virgin, I don't care if it's on Sky, I don't care I don't care where it's on. I want to go on television that night. I want a roundup of all these games with some highlights and a couple of interviews, an hour and a half long show. And it was that tweet was favoured 2,500 times. Now, I do not get tweets favoured that many times in general. No, but seriously, I keep making the point, the appetite that's out there for GAA at this time of the year. These provincial championships are huge. And I saw some people saying, oh, I don't think the general interest is there. It might not be in county finals, but when it gets to the provincial clubs, this is the cream of the crop of all different counties. Like, you're weeded out a lot of the poor teams maybe, and these are good, high-profile, prestigious, high-standard games. Now, having said that, the Ballygunner-Ballier game, maybe we're just spoiled at the level that Intercounty has gone to. The standard wasn't great, but just the excitement overruled everything.
Yeah, it's not great, but you still have some of the best players in Ireland performing some of the most, like some of the best things you'll see all year. And you're right, like, as much as I love hurling, I went to a game in Galway at the weekend, the Galway semi-finals, but as soon as you do that, like, you asked me, did I see the Ballier game? And it's like, no. And there's nowhere to watch it then last night. And, you know, even at that game, they're giving in the results of the Corofin match, and nobody's able to see anything of that game then. Like, so once you go to one game, you're disabled, you're out, you're not going to see anything else. Going to one game and that's it. Yeah. And you'll, like, that's your lot for the weekend, and there's so much more episodes.
There is. And TG4, in fairness to them, like TG Catter, we obviously give them an awful lot of credit with the coverage they give the club games. They're outstanding, and they have been for a long time. Their highlights package is on the Monday night. Now, I think they've missed the pitch of that. Yeah, on the Monday night, like, I'm hit and miss whether I actually watch that sometimes, because by the time Monday evening comes around, that buzz of what's happened, I know all the results, I kind of have read all about them, and that kind of, Jesus, that's on a Sunday night. For me, that's kind of gone a little bit on the Monday night. I don't know what you think.
You're driving home and you're looking forward to seeing the highlights. Like, even at a game that you've been at, you want to see it again then on TV. But listen, maybe they've seen the grief that you give the Sunday game every Monday and then decided to take that out of the equation.
But they don't do analysis or anything. Like TG Catter just actually show the actual highlights and just play it straight through, which I don't really have a problem with. A bit more of a production I might like, a little bit of chat in between it, a bit more entertaining than just... I know we want highlights, but it's find a balance of nonsense analysis and just a little bit of entertainment. You know, TV. It's not really good TV necessarily. It's just getting it done.
I'm free on a Sunday night. You're free on a Sunday night. Give us a call and we'll see what happens.
It is true. But it was Jamie Wall that tweeted during it. Hurling at this time of the year is very rarely pretty. Like a different sport to summer hurling sometimes, but an equally brilliant entertainment. What a game. Still can't get my head around Ballier. They leave the mind boggled. Like, I mean, I think that sums it up, and I'm not a hurling man, he is, that it's rarely pretty. Obviously conditions contribute to that a lot, and it's like a different sport to summer hurling. And you see the way Cork senior hurlers play, Limerick, Clare, they all play this short, intricate passing game. Club hurling ain't like that. You're getting that down the other end of the field, and oftentimes when you get it down that other end of the field, it's Brown from Ballier just catching it, who was absolutely outstanding, and he's sending it back down. Sometimes it can be a little. It's nearly like the intercounty game was maybe 10 years ago in bad conditions. Maybe it's just trying to catch up on that really high skilled intricate game we get at inter-county level.
It doesn't sound like it comes off the hurl as well either. Do you know, in the cold
It's a wet
weather?
ball. It's a wet ball, and a wet hurl probably too. Like, I mean, you think the wet hurl, geez, look, we can't get into this. Conán, we can't. Think of what we might say.
Getting into how people strike a sliotar.
I know about as much about a wet hurl and a wet sliotar now. There are a lot of people listening with low more. Anyways, na Piarsaigh hammered Clonulty Rossmore on Saturday night. 3 of their players got injured. Shane Dowling went off before half time with a hand injury. That's very worrying. Ronan Lynch and Kieran Kennedy as well. It was an embarrassing result for the Tipperary champions, because we've become so used to Thurles Sarsfields being such a big club in the Munster, and you've Clonulty, who had a 2-week gap between winning their county championship and between coming out in the Munster club. And that's just not good enough to be only scoring, to be beaten by 18 points. We know na Piarsaigh are an outstanding team and hurling team, but there's no way there should be 18 points better than the Tip champions. And I think that's embarrassing. Clonulty Rossmore, like, there's excuses if you're out the next day or out the next week, but you're out 2 weeks. You still have a responsibility to represent Tipperary hurling, and we know Tipperary hurling would have, I don't mean this in a bad way, a pretty high opinion of themselves. So that's it. That they've embarrassed the county for me. Yeah,
like Niall from Tipperary in the office, he was talking about this bet, and the handicap was +7, and he couldn't believe it. So he was on like Clonulty +7.
Really?
And and I sort of said to him, well, Jesus, but will na Piarsaigh not hammer them? And he said, like, they're the Tipperary champions.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter. Like, he assumed that they were going to be strong as well. You come into Tipperary, you should be putting it up to anybody.
Yeah, I agree.
That was not.
No, that was disappointing. So Nevena beat Camross. They beat them by 3-18 to 2-16. But I think Camross got 1-2 in injury time to make it actually look respectable. So, like, I mean, they gave Camross, I don't think too many neutrals will be too sad to see Camross go out after everything we've seen from them recently. But Cathal Dunbar was suspended for it, Conán. And this is a really weird one, because he appealed. He got suspended for the county final, right? So he was supposed to have interfered with a face guard. Now, it looked like very, very innocuous. We saw the video of it, and we've mentioned it on the show before. So he's just transferred to Nevena this year. But anyways, that's an irrelevance. It's just a bit of a by the by. But anyways, so he appealed it to the CCCC or whatever. Then the hearings committee appealed it again, got no joy. Then went to the DRA. So the DRA sat the night before the county final. So the DRA judge, they said, having considered the matter, the tribunal held that it should seek clarification from the referee. Pending receipt of the clarification and of its decision in respect of the matter, the tribunal held that Mr. Dunbar should stand not suspended. So he got off, I think, with the DRA, which is kind of, they have legal kind of representation there, and it's more lawyers. And he got off by the fact that the referee didn't put into his report that he deliberately interfered with the face guard. So he got off on a technicality. Yeah. Got to play the final, beat St. Martin's. And now, when the DRA looked at it again with the referee's input, they ended up giving him a suspension of a game, which went through to the Leinster club. Now, if I was St. Martin's, I'd be very disappointed with that, in that he deserved this suspension, but the DRA was able to postpone this suspension and not have it cleared up before the county final. Like, usually you're suspended until you're found guilty or until you're found innocent. But he was found innocent until he was found innocent on the technicality, but the DRA then wanted to hear it again, and they ended up suspending him. So I don't know, it's a very messy kind of...
Yeah, can they not come back now and say, like, well, hang on, was this guy suspended or not?
Yeah, well, you see, I think from St. Martin's point of view, because it was so innocuous and Martins were favourites to win that county final, I think they were of the opinion, well, we'd rather play Nevena with Cathal Dunbar than without. Do you know what I mean? And that was their attitude before the county final. So then he played the county final, scored 4 from play, was really good. It would be a little bit rich to be coming back going then, but like, I mean, technically it looks a little bit unfair on St. Martin's.
Yeah, I'm surprised he needed a technicality to get him off, because we watched it and nothing seems to happen. Nobody seems to react to whatever happens when they're both on the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised he needed this sort of loophole that the ref didn't use the word deliberate in his match report to get him off. So I'm disappointed in the DRA in this case.
Disappointed myself. So James Hickey, James Hickey, Conán. We played a clip from his halftime speech last week.
Is he going to Crew Park on Paddy's Day?
Is Mount Leinster Rangers, and he would love it if if he could get to Croke Park. He wants it more than anything in the world. We know we know this, James Hickey. But James Hickey was on KLFM. Is it the Carlow radio station? KCLR. Geez, I got that badly wrong. Right, so this was after Carlow were hammered by Limerick. So I don't know how, the question isn't included in this. But anyway, the answer to the question by James Hickey was, Carlow are 10 points better than Offaly and have no problem saying that. This is what James Hickey said. So I don't know how Carlow and Offaly, so he's basically saying that they'd be well able to compete at Joe McDonagh Cup level, and Offaly are in that next year. So we're kind of understanding why he might have thrown Offaly in there. So fast forward on maybe 6 months, and Mount Leinster Rangers have to play Coolderry from Offaly. So you can see where I'm going with this. You can see where I'm going with this. So Coolderry, they obviously beat Mount Leinster Rangers yesterday, but I think by about seven points. And Whackham Kelly, from Coolderry manager, he said some fella from the Carlow team said they were 10 points better than Offaly, so that was a motivating factor. We weren't going to allow that.
That's brilliant.
There you go. That was pinned up on the dressing room, even though some fella from the Carlow team, I'm not sure, does James Hickey, is he still playing with them? I'm not sure. I think he's like a kind of older retired player, definitely with Carlow anyway. He might still be playing with Mount Leinster Rangers, although I'm not too sure, because he was
still giving speeches regardless.
Still giving speeches. But James, we know you're good at halftime speeches, but keep that kind of punditry to yourself, because all this is going to come back and bite you in the ass. So there you go. So that's on the dressing room wall, has come back to bite James Hickey. Rory Beggan scored a point from play yesterday, Conán. We're going to turn to football a little bit here now.
Thank God for that.
You can relax now. So anyone who didn't see the clip of this, I was very surprised at the clip of this, because the only time I saw Rory Beggan previous to this taking a shot at the goals from play was against Tyrone in Croke Park, and that didn't end too well. So it was like, geez, he's very tall, he's a little bit awkward. I know from a standing position he's good at pinging him off the outside of his boot. But when I saw this clip, I was very taken aback, because this is a short 45 and everyone switched off, obviously because Beggan's record is so good. Takes a 1-2, right? So he's on the left hand side of the goal. So when he takes the 1-2, he kind of sidesteps off to the right and veers off, and on the run without breaking stride just clips the ball over. Now I'd even argue that there's not an awful lot of outfield players can do that without missing a step or having to slow down. Just run at full pace, and as you're running, just clip it off the outside of clip it off the inside of your boot and curl it around from right to left. It was an outstanding piece of skill from a man so big.
Yeah, like, did you not see his clip last year as well against Clontibbert, like where he scores from play?
No.
And he, like, Clontibbert, the second best team in Monaghan, and he takes a switch of play, like he comes out from the goals, and he starts soloing very slowly, looking at the options ahead, and the whole right wing just opens up in front of him, so he just takes off the whole way up the right wing, and Clontibbert are just marking up their men. Nobody approaches him, and he keeps going. And just clips it over.
Off the outside or inside?
Off the inside. He just keeps going the whole way up, and then once he comes under a bit of pressure, just clips it over and jogs straight back. But that one was even better. I know he ran the length of the field in the clip last year, but that one was better because of the pace involved. And then he was sort of in between two men, and as you say, turned onto his right and clipped it with the instep. It
was the clip I thought was just very the clip without breaking stride. That was the most impressive thing. And a fella tweeted me last night, Shane Rice, and he said that he pulled up an article of some college games back in from 2010 to 2012 in Dundalk IT. Beggan played full forward for Dundalk IT, and he scored 8 points. Now this is just a match report from a university game. It didn't have a breakdown from play or from free. So, like, I mean, he's got an awful lot more strings to his bow. This is why I keep saying, put him in midfield, you all-star panel. You with all your new rules and everything, it would have been perfect. But the reason it didn't do that is because it would have been a little bit farcical. But it's okay for Kavanagh to get a full back one, and that's because that's not farcical at all, right? So if they're going to be consistent about this, let's not have these arguments about David Clark and Stephen Cluxton. They're both had outstanding years. Stick one of them outfield. Watch everyone laugh.
Yeah.
And this is what it's become.
They're all laughing anyway.
They're laughing anyway. Right, Ballintubber beat Turlstrand 6-5. So this was an absolute snooze fest. So Ballintubber only scored 1 point from play. Only 2 players on their whole team scored, Killian and Diarmuid O'Connor. Diarmuid O'Connor scored a point from play inside the first 16 minutes, and they never scored from play again. Right, so after the game, you have Kevin Johnson, who's the Ballintubber manager. He's putting all the blame on Turlstrand, right? So he says, we came here to get over the line. Turl Strand set up the way they set up. So he's putting the blame. Eamon O'Hara's Turl Strand manager, and I believe Eamon wouldn't really, like, his philosophy would be kind of a kicking game and a more traditional game, but maybe he went more defensive. But I don't think people in glasshouses shouldn't throw stones, because I've seen Ballintubber against Castlebar Mitchells, and they're fairly fond of getting lads back behind the ball themselves. So maybe when you get two teams who are playing like that, you end up with 6-5. Like, I mean, that's terrible stuff. Turl Strand, incidentally, were beaten last year by Castlebar Mitchells 113-9. So either they changed their tactics and went way more defensive against other Mayo champions, or else Ballintubber, because of their defensive system, are less inclined to be able to break down the defensive system, because we know Castlebar Mitchells would be a more attacking side.
Yeah, if I was Kevin Johnson, I would just carry on. We won the game into the semi-finals. Nobody watched it on TV. It'll be fine. Like, you know, don't worry about it. Don't justify yourself, Kevin. Carry on.
Yeah, spoken like a true Ulster diehard. Crossmaglen won on Saturday night, and this was against Coal Island Fianna, 12-10. Coal Island Fianna were 2-1. I was tipping them on Thursday as a good chance of being a brilliant price, basically, in that 2-horse race. There was a dozen yellow cards and 4 red cards. So Coal Island Fianna had 2 men sent off in the first half after 25 minutes. So it ended up being 13 aside. Crossmaglen had 2 lads sent off in the second half after 33 and 44 minutes. So it was 13 aside for the last 50 minutes. So that was your trial. You don't need these trials. So Kieran Whelan is an advocate of 13 aside.
Yeah.
I would like to see the last 14 minutes. And this is a Coal Island side who are putting a lot of men behind the ball. So it's a perfect opportunity to see how 13 aside affects this defensive game. Joe Brawley was at it.
I know, when I heard Joe Brawley was at it and it was 13 aside, I thought, oh God.
If only you could believe somebody that was at the game. Yeah, because obviously Crossmaglen were brave, and they went for it, and Coal Island just didn't. They played within themselves. And
I spoke to Mary in the shop at half time, and she said she's never seen an atmosphere like this, you know.
But the last 14 minutes, 13 aside, that's when Crossmaglen really came with kick passing, long ball. Right, so that was a terrible Joe Brawley accent. So I'm picturing this 25-minute incident when Coal Island had 2 men sent off. So as the latter was called back. So Brian Toner got sent off on a straight red in 25 minutes. And then he was given a second yellow. Then let me get this right. So was it Brian Toner sent off? So Brian Toner and Owen Hampsey departed around 25 minutes. The former called back to receive a second yellow for dissent, the latter receiving a straight red for something he said in reaction to his teammates sent off. So Brian Toner got a second yellow for dissent. So he mouted at the referee, got a second yellow, got sent off. Then Owen Hampsey came over, mouted at the referee, said something, got a straight red.
That's a black card, by the way. That's not a straight red.
Well, it depends on what he said.
Probably.
If you're getting a straight red for something that you've said, you'd imagine it's fairly deplorable. Well, you wouldn't know with some referees, I suppose. So they're down to 25 minutes based on one incident. It's just stupidity of the highest order. The manager would be going absolutely crazy. But in the second half then, Crossmaglen, Callum Cumisky and Johnny Hanratty, they both got second yellows, and the Crossmaglen manager wasn't too annoyed about that. It looked like maybe they were second yellows. He blamed his players for getting a second yellow when they're already on a yellow. So that was that. So a 13-a-side game. Castlerahan, this is a funny one. So they went down to Coleraine, 11 points to 2-11. So they were 6 down at half time, Castlerahan. Now, you can remember we sent out an SOS last Thursday for Cian Mackey, who wasn't. We're still waiting to hear back from on the show. So I was delighted to look through the match report and see that Cian Mackey actually did play. So he is alive and he's well, and he scored 2 points, 1 from play. But the Castlerahan manager, Donal Keown, he said after the game, so Castlerahan got it back, I said, to within a point in the second half, and Coleraine ended up winning by 6. But they had a terrible start. They were 2-6 to 6 points down at half time. So, they were terrible in the first half. And Donal Keown said after the game, the boys can get in there again next year, but if they do, they needn't party as hard. That's the big thing. They partied the whole week. I only got them back on Tuesday night. So they won the county final the previous Sunday.
10 days later,
he couldn't round up his team. There's something funny about this. While I was critical of the Tipperary champions 2 weeks, this is their first ever county title. Now they did the dog on it, and in fairness to them, they didn't disgrace themselves on the field, but like they really dogged it out of it to not appear back in the field until the following Tuesday week. Like that's just. But listen, I don't feel bad for not being able to locate Cian Mackey when his own manager can't.
I was going to say you're trying to get him and the manager can't get him. But it was interesting. Sean McGoldrick, the Coleraine manager, was saying something opposite when they won it in 2010. He was talking yesterday as well and said the last time we won it, we probably went at it too hard, but the boys are a bit wiser now and they're thinking they can take a step on.
Right.
So it's a tale of two.
That's the thing. Yeah, you need the first blowout. You need to be able to blow it out and learn those lessons. So, like, I mean, a lot of this stuff, it's all about learning and getting experience. And I suppose that's my point with these drink bans and everything, that without making mistakes, you'll never learn yourself. You're just being forced to do something. Do you know? That's my take on them. Leitrim GAA tweeted last night, and it's Carrick Hurling Club. So Captain James Glancy carried the Connacht GAA Junior Hurling Cup across the bridge in Carrick and Shannon. An historic occasion, the first Leitrim man to carry a provincial club cup into the county. That was a lovely little picture that they tweeted out. So it was the Junior Hurling Cup across the bridge. So, like, I mean, congratulations to Carrick Hurling Club, and you can be sure they'll be celebrating just as much as any other. They might not go to Castlerahan extremes, because, well, they can actually, because once you win the provincial, you've 12 weeks.
Yeah, go nuts.
If only Cian Mackey and them knew, lads, hold it off. Hold off. Let's win this Ulster, and I'll give you an unbroken 4 or 5 weeks of celebration, lads. Listen.
And they should, like, not to get into a match report, but they got a man sent off very harshly in the first half. Like, you know, and they only lost by 6. They drew the second half, so they will feel like they missed an opportunity.
Oh, they will. But look, again, that's what they'll be back again, because they have a young team, and they will learn from that experience, and they won't go mad the next day. So that's it. Just to finish up, I was contacted by a couple of parents in Portlaoise, and they're very upset about the minor Camogie final. So Portlaoise never had a minor Camogie team before, so it's the first year they've actually done it. And they're after getting to the final, or they got to the final, and where they played St. Bridget's, and they're the ladies' club from Rathdowney Earl. And there was a cup basketball championships, like an All-Ireland championships on in Dublin, in Sutton, at the same weekend, right? So both were fixed for yesterday, the 4th. So Portlaoise Club then emailed the Laois Camogie Association on the Wednesday night, right? And they had contacted St. Bridget's separately, and it said, look, we've got 5 girls who are playing basketball, and they've trained like mad for them, and we want to be encouraging young girls and boys to be playing as much sport as possible, not just one. And they're in that final. Is there any way you'd agree to move the game and fix it for a date that might suit the girls? And in fairness, St. Bridget's, the only thing they said is they didn't want to play under lights, but they were happy to change the game. So both Portlaoise and St. Bridget's agreed that they would play the game on the 10th at 10:30 in the morning, 6 days later. Right, so this happens between clubs a lot. Like, I mean, it's down to the 2 clubs really. So Portlaoise then emailed the Laois Camogie Association on Wednesday night. This is Wednesday before the Sunday. Now, at this point when they emailed, there was no fixture, there was no referee, there was no nothing. So the Laois Camogie Association said that the email they received was too late, even despite the fact that the fixture hadn't even been like announced with a venue and with a referee and everything. And they overruled the 2 clubs and made them play yesterday. Like, I mean, I just can't understand that. So Sarah Fleming had to leave the basketball at half-time in Sutton, came home and played at full-back, and then went back up to Dublin to play the final of the basketball. Like, I mean, isn't that just terrible? It was Wednesday at 1 o'clock they sent in the email requesting the change to the 10th, which was agreed with St. Bridget's. Yeah. And they overruled it. Like, I'm trying my best to understand the mentality of a governing body that would try and prevent 5 girls from playing, 2 finals when it was agreed with both. If Rathdowney Earl, St. Bridget's, Rathdowney Earl, put in an objection that wanted to play, then absolutely you say, that's the fixture now and you're going to have to. But when both clubs agree, what benefit is there? What benefit is there of the Laois Camogie Association in overruling that? Is that just a power trip that, look, we're in charge here? Yeah, well, I was going to ask, like, what were they too late for? Like, both clubs agreed, so that's it. Too late for what? Yeah, like, never mind the fact that there might not have been a venue or anything put in place anyway. But it's like, no, don't worry. Like, we both are happy with this, so there's nobody too late for anything. We're not playing Saturday. We'll just play next week. Just like refix that if you can, please. There's no problem. Like, yeah. So they discussed this for an hour. the delegates at this meeting, an hour, and decided to vote against the two clubs who are happy to move it. Like, I mean, and like from my information, there was a Division 2 final earlier on this year, and it was agreed amongst the two teams, and that went ahead on the date that the two teams agreed. I just like, I mean, if you're a Laois Camogie Association and you see this is the first ever minor team Portlaoise have had, and they have a clash with another sport, and they've requested it. Like, I mean, they don't have to agree it. If you, like I said, if St. Bridget's disagree, but St. Bridget's agree and would rather play Portlaoise in the final with their full team than with, you know, down 5 girls who were training with another team all year, and just this is a compromise and everybody's happy. And like there's parents in Portlaoise that are considering pulling their daughters out of it, because like why would you not say, listen, go just stick with the basketball? Why do you need to be training all year to be treated like that? Like, I mean, what kind of promotion is that? Like, who are these people that are deciding this, and what are their motivations? That's the only thing I can say about it. It's so frustrating.
And this is like, unfortunately, this is happening all over the bloody country. Like, you remember last year we were finding out that the Limerick ladies final was on at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. You know, girls are completely put out by it. They'd have to leave at 7 because they were an hour away from the stadium. You know, Kilkenny, there was a schools game, and like they were playing schools camogie tournament, but there was some girls who were representing Leinster in the ladies football, and then they had to choose between which one. Like, you know, and this is happening a lot, especially in female sport. And as you say, parents, when you pull them out of it, like, why would they put up with that hassle?
I don't know, and maybe they won't, and it'll be the GAA's loss if that's what happens. All right, we'll leave it there, Conán, and we'll be back with Ian Burke. Alright, so Ian Burke became the first Galway man to win an All-Star on Friday night since 2003. It was Kevin Walsh back then. And then on Sunday, his club wins 6 county titles in a row, and he joins us on the line now. Congratulations, Ian. If Carlsberg did weekends, I'm sure this was the weekend they would have done for you.
That's for sure, yeah. It's been a whirlwind couple of days there, you know. I suppose on Friday night it was a huge honour for me to, you know, win the All-Star, and I was absolutely delighted to get it. I was just delighted in the first instance to be just nominated with the 6 for the Galway lads. You know, it was a great year for Galway football, and indeed Corofin, and yeah, we had a hard fought replay on Sunday there just yesterday, so it was delighted to get through that, and still be looking forward to a Connacht semi-final.
Yeah, so that's putting it mildly, a hard fought county final. We'll talk about the county final first, because it was a fairly kind of, was it a bad tempered game, Ian? Like, I mean, there was a few red cards. Even Kieran Fitzgerald got a red card, so that'll tell you how bad it got.
Yeah, I mean, it was you know, and there was a lot of games in Galway this year has been tough games, like, and Montpellier were no exception. I mean, the first day they came and set up, you know, defensively, and we struggled in large periods to break that down. And we're kind of, I suppose, lucky to get the draw in the end the last day, and to be still in with a shout this weekend. So yeah, it was there's no easy game in Galway, so it was a hard fought game, I'd put it that way. But yeah, we were just happy to come out with the win, you know.
I saw your manager said after the game that this was after the drawn game 7-7, that you were actually lucky to get out there with the draw. He said our lads are so used to playing going forward as quick as they possibly can. It was quite the change in attitude in the last 2 games. It was after yesterday, but I'm surprised that you wouldn't face that level of defensive system in Galway. Like, you're such a strong team. I would have thought most teams you would have played against would have gone out like that. No.
Yeah, no, I think that was kind of one of the first instances where we faced something as defensive as that. But I think it's, you know, it's a testament to the Corofin team that, you know, are able to adapt and able to be patient and to dig out scores when they're extremely hard to come by. But yeah, it was a funny one. We're just delighted to come away with the win, you know.
Yeah, come here. You missed yesterday with a rib injury. You came off after 59 minutes, so you nearly got through the whole of the first county final. And what happened?
Yeah, I kind of fractured one of my ribs in the Annadown game, and I hadn't really got it properly diagnosed because with the games coming up. But then after the first county final, it was extremely sore. On Monday I went in, and then the doctor said they had a fractured ribs. So I'm out for out of action for a couple of weeks with it.
All right, okay. So, like, I mean, it's just a couple more weeks. It's like a rib injury is kind of like you're not going to do more damage, just the bloody pain of it.
Yeah, that's it. Look, it's just a waiting game really. So just give it a couple of weeks rest, then yeah, should be raring to go in another couple of weeks.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And what are you like on the sideline watching a game like that then, when you're used to being on the field?
Yeah, sure, you're only trying to get the boots on and go out and help the lads. But yeah, it was interesting watching how the game unfolded yesterday, because it was so it was kind of very tactical, you know. We had kind of a few our homework done and a few things we wanted to kind of carry out, and it was just nice to see that from kind of a bird's eye view rather than being kind of in the thick of the action, you know.
Yeah.
So it was a nice change, I suppose, but it was yeah, obviously it was mad to get out there.
That was the thing. So you had the whole week, actually. You got the draw, and geez, we all saw the clip of the draw. Like, I mean, you'd only scored 6 points in 60 minutes, and then you, in injury time in the last attack, you were able to pull one out of the fire, and Lundy was completely free. I don't know how they ended up leaving him free, but like, I mean, so obviously you were talking all week about how to deal with this, and you know, you talk about this at inter-county level as well. So it's just a matter of discussing with each other, you know, amongst each other as players, as in hold on to it, wait for the opening, don't take it into contact. You know, all those conversations you have probably more at inter-county level.
Yeah, it was exactly what you mentioned just there, you know, and don't take the ball. Like, Montpellier were a physical team, so, you know, bringing the ball into contact with them guys was a bad idea. You know, they're going to rip it off you. So, yeah, we just thought, you know, we should work it, just be patient. Like, we were happy enough to have the ball rather than to be chasing the ball. And then we just try and work it back and over. And, you know, some unreal players there with Corofin, and they're able to, you know, pull moments out of the bag. Like, so they're able to find pockets of space, you know, to get the goal in the first half was a serious move. And then in the second half, there's a couple of unreal point kicks. So, like, the quality of player that's there in Corofin was, you know, they're able to pull off these kind of moves and these kind of scores. So that definitely helps. So yeah, exactly. We're just trying to keep it out of contact, be patient when the chances came, just try and take as many as we could.
So every cloud has a silver lining with this rib injury. You were able to have a few pints on Friday night to celebrate your All-Star then, no?
Yeah, I suppose there's one way of looking at it, but yeah.
And come here, how was Friday night then? Because we obviously found out the All-Star team last Thursday. When did you find out?
Yeah, I found out it was just the Wednesday night. Kevin was being the last man to win it, and being our manager, I suppose, found out, and then he was obliged to ring me in, and yeah, I couldn't believe the news when I heard it, but I was absolutely delighted. And then when the news broke on the Thursday, yeah, just the phone was hopping with just well wishes and well done and that. So it was been an amazing response so far. And again, yeah, it's just a huge honour to have won. So
that's the thing. And like, I mean, genuinely, did you think you were in the shake-up with it? Because obviously Mannion plays corner forward as well, and the All-Stars has changed now, so he went out into the wing, Brian Howard went into midfield, and you were the corner. Now, we argued on the podcast last Thursday, I would have had you over Mannion anyway based on the year you had. But like, I mean, in your own head, who did you think you were going to get in?
Like, I mean, you know, it was just, for me personally, it was just a huge honour to be nominated. I just thought it was nice it was a nice representation of Galway football, that considering the year that we had, you know, 6 and 7 guys nominated, which we haven't had, you know, for a couple of years. So to be honest, I was just kind of delighted in that regard, more so than anything else. I mean, there's been a number of phenomenal players who, you know, played throughout the championship and that, who may have gotten an All-Star, but like, you know, that's not for me to decide really. But I was just, you know, to be honest, I was just happy that I was able to represent my county with the 6 other Galway boys. And it just showed it was a good year, you know. Yeah, no,
like, I mean, and you can be modest all you want, but like, I mean, you had more than a good year. Like, I mean, your assists are off the charts. Like, I mean, I was reading before the Dublin game that you had either converted or directly assisted 1/3 of Galway's scores up until the Dublin game. And sure, the Dublin game in the first half, like, I mean, you had a direct part in nearly every point that Galway scored. Like, I mean, would you define your role within the team, or the role Kevin wants you to play, or is this just your natural game anyways?
Yeah, I just think it's just my natural game, I suppose. Just trying to, like, I mean, Kevin has built a great team culture, I suppose, in Galway, and I mean, it's not even a 15-man game now, it's more of a 30-man game with all the background team. So yeah, so it's more of a team game. That's what we're focused on. We're focused on being, you know, the best Galway team that we can be. And I mean, individual players, I suppose, contribute to that, but I mean, overall, we're just hoping to buy into the systems and the processes, because there's so much to playing inter-county football now and being in an inter-county setup, that it's very much team player environment in there with Galway. So yeah, I'm just happy to contribute what I can to the systems and processes that we play, and just to be be part of the Galway football team.
But you know you're unique in a traditional sense in that you're a small, nippy corner forward and you're not obsessed with scoring. You like to set other people up. This is not a normal behaviour for a corner forward.
I don't know. In fairness to the guys, they're making great runs off the shoulder, so it's easy. It's easy enough to just get it and give it, and they can. If they're on for the shot, sure, they obviously have a better chance of scoring if I have my back to my goal and they're running at the goal, So it just makes sense to pop it off, I suppose. These lads make great runs. It makes my life a lot easier,
Yeah, but you're in that you play corner forward, and there's different types of corner forwards. You're the kind of lively one who's always out in front and you're making things happen. Then there's, the likes of the Gooch, whose movement wouldn't be great, but he's going to finish the minute he gets it. Like, you're like a mix in between the two. You enjoy and are able to do both. You're two-footed, you can score, but you'll just as happily break out to the 45 and set something else up. You just like to be on the ball. That's the impression I get from you from watching you.
Yeah, I suppose. I suppose. Yeah, I just like to get on the ball. See, kind of make things happen. I wouldn't be one to just kind of stand up inside if it's not happening. I try to come out, just get hands on the ball and keep in the game and that. But yeah, look, it's as I said earlier, it's all the team game. And if the guy make runs off my shoulder, there's no reason why I'm going to hold on to the ball. When these guys are, well able to score and probably better at it than I am,
Yeah, just from my analysis on the show, like, you breaking onto the Mayo team kind of changed the whole dynamic of the forward line, in that you were that link player, and that you were able, because Galway might only leave 2 players up, and then the chasing lads trying to get up and support them, that you were that link man that could actually throw it off to the lads chasing up, rather than having this huge gap between the two on the inside, you know what I mean? And then the runners coming to catch up. A lot of your assists are actually not to Damien Comer or whoever's in beside you. They're actually to fellas further out the field that are coming onto the play.
Yeah, it's like, as in they've a lot harder job than I have, them guys out the field, because they have plenty of ground to catch up on. But just the Mayo game was a funny one. I was only kind of a couple of weeks after the Corofin game, so I was only in the panel a couple of weeks. So I was still trying to get up to speed, and then I just came in, and luckily enough I found a few pockets of space and got on good balls. Engaging Varley kicked me a great one, and Shane Walsh kicked me in 1 or 2. So it was just a quality ball that comes in. It's just one bounce into you. It's easy enough kind of win it then when it comes out, and then just the legs running off the shoulder. Johnny Heaney got a fantastic goal that day. It was he made a huge run up the field, near the end of the game, and I was able to pull off a finish like that. But it was that game, I suppose, really kind of got me going and got me back into the Galway team, and I just tried to do much of the same for the continuing on from that, and just tried to be exactly the team player, like I said.
That's the thing, and the new structure to the championship didn't really help the Corofin lads, because you came back in and you'd missed the league and you'd made a league final, and then the championship was pushed up so much that you actually didn't have too much time to get back in onto the team. It was a bit of a disaster for a club that has done so well and won an All-Ireland club.
Yeah, it was a funny one. We were watching the Galway lads throughout the league, and they had such a fantastic league that we were kind of chomping at the bit to get back in, because first training back in, you could just see the excitement in there. Everyone was hugely ambitious for the upcoming championship, and then it was just a matter of trying to get up to speed with and get back into learning all the processes and systems that go along with playing for Galway and that. It just took me a couple of weeks, and then once I got in, then I was happy enough. Lucky enough, took my chance, and then was able to retain my place from then on.
I read last year was your first year playing senior intercounty, and I was reading somewhere you said that it brought you to a different level. It completely brought your game on. Just wondering what you meant by that. Was that from a tactical point of view, strength and conditioning, or just a total kind of package?
Yeah, you're coming up against the best 15 in each county, so your game develops a lot more. Your kind of spatial awareness, strength and conditioning, when to game management, these kind of things. It just brought my game on so much, I felt, and that I was able to contribute to Corofin's success. I think through my kind of the year previous, I just felt that I developed a lot more how to win ball and use my body in better positions, and things like that. And that's mainly the areas I felt I improved on and still trying to improve on.
Right, okay, so almost that instead of just kind of being another forward, you've come back to Corofin after being on the county panel, wanting being more the main man. Even though it is hard to be the main man on that Corofin forward line at the same time.
exactly. Like, I mean, the Corofin forward line itself is you know, it's unreal. You know, playing with them guys, it's a different game plan with Corofin as it is with Galway, but as it is with every other team. You know, so yeah, just trying to use, you know, winning ball winning ability, you know, spatial awareness, and just trying to see better passes and able to set up the guys, you know, better. And then just game management. Like, I mean, yesterday was all game management by Corofin. Really, it was, you know, it was hard to break down Montpellier, for instance, and we just, you know, held the ball and we were able to find our pockets and you know, convert the chances when we got in.
Yeah, well, you've all the inter-county jargon anyway with processes and game management and all stuff like that. So Kevin Walsh has taught you well. Come here, is it a weird one being the only Corofin player on the team? Like, I mean, because everybody marvels at Corofin, and I know a few of the lads didn't go back in, Farragher and Lundy, for their own reasons, and Silk was away in America. But like, I mean, to only have one, to be performing that well without the 6 in a row and the big team in Galway only having one player, like, I mean, it must be the talk of Galway in a way, is it?
I don't really know. I don't really pay too much heed to a lot of what's kind of been said there, what's said inside in the camps there. So yeah, look, I mean, there was 3 of us in there last year, me, Bernard Power and Ciara Malloy. I think Liam Silk is back in there this year, so there's a nice you know, few Corofin lads in there, and you know, with the help of God, the Galway panel, we can bring in a few new players, be it from Corofin or be it from, you know, elsewhere. I mean, if you look at the legs of, you know, Sean Andy Kelly and Sean Kelly, like the positive impacts them guys have had, you know, been nominated for an All their first year. You know, if we can find a few more lads who make similar impacts, you know, I think all will be in a very good place next year.
Will you have Silk back, like you just mentioned? Is Killian McDade back in as well? I know he's back home. Like, I mean, they're 2 huge additions to your panel.
Yeah, they'd be 2 huge additions. I mean, they're both class players and that. So yeah, we'd be excited to see the 2 of them guys back in. And they'll definitely add something different and a new dynamic to the backline there.
Yeah,
if they do come back.
Just before we finish up, do you keep assist stats at inter-county level? It's so long since I've been out of the game. We know that assists are a big deal in fantasy football and soccer and stuff, but are assists, because like you got 6 assists against Kildare, like all with the hand. Like, I mean, is that talk? Like, are you given stats on how you affect scores rather than score them yourselves?
Yeah, we would look at with Galway, the assists that you know, you provide. Obviously, it's a big part of, you know, it's obviously it's nice scoring, but assisting is just as important, you know. And being it's such a team game that, you know, giving the scorer all the credit, I suppose, isn't. You know, the assist probably deserves recognition, and it's something we would have looked at and tried to emphasise. You know, like, rather than taking on a 60% shot, if there's a guy in the 80% chance of scoring, it's better off to give it to him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was nice to recognise that, and I did think it was something that lads were conscious of playing on the field, that, you know, just give the ball to the, you know, the man in the right position and in the best position to shoot. Like, you know, it just makes sense, you know.
Yeah. Come here, Ian, I won't keep you much longer. I'm sure you've got better things to be doing the day after a county final than talking to me. Come here, congratulations on your All-Star and yesterday, and we'll talk to you again.
Yeah, thanks a million, Colin. No problem.
Paddy Power performance of the weekend, Conán, and the first one is Niall Deasy. He was outstanding. So he scored 210 yesterday. He got 2-4 from play. Now we're undecided whether one of the goals was a brilliant deflected one, or he was trying to catch it and it came off his hand. That's a great question, and like JJ would answer that for me in a second. Like, he really would. Or
I'm telling you,
or Michael Carton,
or
or Cheddar, or Damien, whatever it was. This is stuff we just can't kind of comment on. But he was interviewed after the match. Now, I don't think he's a great talker for starters. Now, I don't blame anyone here, because the game was in the balance and you have to pick a man of the match, and the man of the match is usually from the winning team, so they're in a much different mind space after game. And it was Niall Deasy, scored 210. Imagine going out in that kind of situation after 80, was it more than 90 minutes?
90.
So no, 60, 70, 80, 90 minutes. And the heartbreak, and then you're out in front of the television. Like, I'd say no, I'm not. You know, that's your whole year gone in an unbelievable game. So it was awkward. It was hard for him to answer the questions, and then had to. Do you know what? I felt really bad for him. Not only did he have to answer the questions, then he's presented with the Man of the Match award, and you know, in a picture you have to smile.
Yeah.
So here's this fella smiling after losing out like that. I was like, Jesus Christ, don't interview him.
Yeah.
Leave him off. Like, I wouldn't torment I actually would not annoy somebody who's just lost a match like that. 'Cause I've done sideline reporting for long enough. I always just go for the winning team. I wouldn't even dare pester somebody after losing like that.
Yeah, like, and you said about him smiling.
Definitely
like,
not a player anyway.
even if he was a good talker, and a bit of crack, he can't be like that in the camera.
No.
Like, even if he wasn't that upset, he can't come out and do it. Like,
Yeah.
his team was just lost, and he's not going to be in the mood anyway. So, yeah, it's a strange one. Like, why not? Like, it's nice that they can still pick the man of the match and do it fairly. Say, no, he was man of the match. But why don't they just interview somebody from Ballygunner?
You don't have to interview him.
Yeah.
Interview Pádraig Mahoney, who scored.
Ask him about Niall DC as well. Like,
Yeah.
and he might have something nice to say about him. He might have played in college with him.
Yeah.
Might get a good story out of it that way.
I
Like.
completely agree. I'm mentioning Pádraig Mahoney, like, he scored 14 points. He got 8 from frees and 6 from play. Connor Power in the corner got 1-2. But Pádraig Mahoney is just he's an assassin. He's a sharpshooter. He's like a quarterback. You pop it back out to him. Pádraig Mahoney's never going to see you, take you on, go past you. He doesn't have that lightning pace. But what he has is he's always in the pocket, and he always gets an old throwback, and you know what's going over, and that's it. So I would have interviewed him. Or I would have, you know what I mean? Or I'd interviewed the Ballygunner manager. I'd have interviewed someone from the winning team to get an idea of how it felt to win that game. And Niall Deasy just won man of the match. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everybody's a winner. And send him in his trophy and say, now, mate, you can cry there in the dressing room. You don't have to smile.
Yeah.
We're not going to take pictures of you. You're obviously very disappointed.
We're not looking to give him the Paddy Power short straight after the final whistle. Like, we do it a day later.
Yeah, and you get him in the post.
Yeah.
And you can wipe away your tears with them if you need to.
There was a nice moment between Pádraig Mahoney and Tony Kelly afterwards. Actually, that's one of the good things about club as well. You see these two superstars then just coming together, and just a bit of respect between them.
The difference between the two teams, Ballygunner looked like they were a much better all-round team, but Jesus, the county lads, the DC, the Tony Kelly, and the Brown at centre back, like, these lads are colossus at club level. Ballyea are a real example of a club team that their county lads drive them on, and the other lads play the supporting role and are tenacious. They're a village club. Like, I mean, this is the reality, but they're the perfect example of it. Their stars always play for them. And Tony Kelly he was unbelievable again yesterday. He's just a machine. The speed of him is just out of control. Donny Shine scored 9 from play, or 9 points. He got only 2 from play. But usually I wouldn't put somebody in that got 7 frees. But I know Donny Shine, without seeing the highlights, he can kick them from all sorts of angles. So, like, I mean, you don't get 9 points and not have played really well. He plays centre half forward for them. An interesting, Clonagale only beat Tyrconnell Gales by 115 to 110. We Liam Gavigan on the show last Thursday. He scored 6 points, 2 from play. After 44 minutes, Tyrconnell Gales were ahead until Graham Petit scored a goal, and it turned it into Clonagale's favour. But this, like, we spoke about this, that club football in London is improving all the time. Like, I mean, the decision to put them into the Connacht Championship was an absolutely brilliant one, because it was completely unfair leaving them off for 13 weeks, then play the Connacht champions. Like, Clonagale are a solid team. They're coming out of a championship that have St. Bridget's, and we all know how good they are. And they're only beating Tyrconnell Gales by 115 to 110, and that's at home. That's in Dr. Hyde after Tyrconnell Gales travelling there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's a very impressive result for Tyrconnell Gales as far as I'm concerned.
And it's only going to get stronger in London by putting them into Connacht and saying you have a rattle at the Connacht Championship here if you get through London. Like, and they're well able for it. And even, like, it's getting stronger all over. Like, Amsterdam GAA played in the Leinster Junior final, or the Leinster Junior Championship. They played St. Finian's from Dublin, and they only lost by 2 points.
Right.
So it's showing you that the strength is sort of popping up everywhere, and these teams, if they're good enough, get them into the provincial championship.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a GAA community in Amsterdam. There's so much other things to do in Amsterdam. I don't know if I would be into football if I lived there. Ryan O'Neill scored 7 points for Crossmaglen. He's a younger brother of Oisín O'Neill, who Stevie MacDonald obviously spoke up so much in this show that he ended up disappointing us a little bit, Oisín. I don't want to hold that against Oisín's young as well, and I'm sure he'll come good, but Stevie basically had this lad marked, although he was right about Rory Grugan. He was calling Rory Grugan at an early...
Yeah, he was a year too soon with it, though.
Yeah, maybe a year too soon with it, is right. Rory Grugan's just proved himself this year, but he scored 7 points, 145, 2 free, so he got 4 from play, which was double the amount of scores from play Cole Island got in the entire game. So, like, I mean, he was outstanding. and he deserves his nomination. Kevin Cassidy got 1-3. We wanted to see more from Kevin Cassidy. We wanted to see him get a little bit more, and he set up a goal as well. So, like, I mean, he's a handful in a full forward, there's no doubt. And I think maybe, although Guidor were playing Carrigan, who are a very defensive team as well, so it was interesting to see him get 1-3 against them when he was more starved of possession in the county final against Guidor.
I mean, the goal
against Glenties.
The goal he set up was like Kieran Donaghy-esque, and he didn't even jump. He just held the keeper off and the defender. He's so strong, like, and he just leant into it and just panned it down.
Where did you see that?
Carol just saw a clip of it on Twitter.
Oh, right.
Okay, if you want something badly enough, Willie, you'll get it.
Go, look, but I've got all this to organise. I don't have the luxury of.
You're not looking for Ulster football. That's your problem.
So, like, I mean, the size of Kevin Cassidy, like, I mean, it's actually. Is it only because he went in full forward you actually realise how bloody big he is? Like, out around the midfield you don't always get a sense of it, or maybe there's enough big bodies out there that you're he mixes in with the big bodies, but he looked like a monster against Glenties.
It's because he was so mobile in his career as well, going up and down the pitch, and like that sort of wing back coming off the shoulder. He always had huge legs,
and maybe piling a few pounds on in his latter years has added to the kind of maybe bulk of him,
and using the pounds, holding off a keeper and a defender. You know, it just looks a bit more imposing when he's standing planted, not letting anybody past him.
No, exactly. Conor Gleeson got 4 from play. The Nair hammered it there. The Nair are a very good team, and I often talk about Conor Gleeson. We know him being a man marker. He's been on the show, such a man marker for the hurlers, put on all the opposition's danger men, and then he comes across to the other code football and he's got this silky skilled, 2-footed, beautiful balance, brilliant Gaelic footballer, and then he's being marked. Isn't it weird? I often think that you often think that if you're a really good forward in football, although he played minor in the forwards in hurling, he was converted back actually. That was it. John Milan converted him back into a defender when he was under 21. He wasn't able to make the team, so he did want to be a forward in both. Because it is a bit weird being a Tigerish cornerback in hurling but being a forward in football.
Yeah.
It is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I always thought like that was a type, a Tigerish cornerback. It's the same.
It's a mentality. It's a way of life, isn't it?
Crossover, like
So he's a bit of a weird one. So I don't know who I'm going to give the performance of the weekend. I think Niall Deasy. So it's okay the day after to give him. We're not going to interview him. So, like, I mean, he well deserves 210. He was outstanding. He's a huge man as well. And geez, it's surprising that he's not on the Clare team. I know that Clare have a very good forward line, but surely to have a place for a big physically imposing man like that who can win his own ball, like
John Conán.
John Conán's gone in full forward now, you see, so maybe there is a place in that half forward line. Duggan plays on the wing. Maybe you could put him on the other wing. I'm trying to think who's the regular. Oh, yes, Reedy and Tony Kelly play centre forward. Not an easy half forward line to get on, in fairness. So you'd like to see more action from DC next year. 210. So Paddy Power performance of the weekend. Congratulations to him. And that's all we've time for this week. We'll be back on Thursday as usual with another preview show. Good luck.